Evening, everybody. It is 5:40 on this Tuesday afternoon, the 24th of October, and this is your closing comment. It is video number 1956 for this Tuesday night. Okay, we had a bunch of earnings today, and frankly, most of them are supportive of still higher prices in a couple of names, and a little bit of weakness here and there. The one that stands out the most to me, not on a percentage of move basis, but was Microsoft, which beat top and bottom. It had closed at 330.53, up $1.21, and after the earnings came out, it got as high as 349.98. The last is 344.72. That's up 15.40, or just under 5%. What stood out to me in that was their licensing fees. Their licensing fees are based on all of those new PCs that go out of Best Buy and Dell and everywhere else, with Microsoft Windows. And those numbers were up between 4 and 5%. And the commentary on that is that it looks like we're starting to see some growth there again. And so growth in PCs is a big plus for Microsoft, forgetting about all of the AI stuff, etc. Bottom line was, the stock is up 15 after being up only $1 during the day. So that's going to add a big premium to the Dow futures overnight. Alphabet went the other way. It had closed 138.81. They reported a miss. There's some commentary there on the suspension of Waymo, which is really unfortunate because that is said to be a major player and fairly successful in the autonomous driving area. So we closed 138.81. We got down to 128.80. Last on the stock is 129.72. That's down 660, or a full 5%. Snap has been all over the place. They beat. The stock had closed at 971. That was up 22 cents. I actually saw somebody talking about it on CNBC, um, about some of the metrics in the company, and um, discussing it from a recommendation point of view. So the beat took the stock from 971 all the way up to 1210. But then the conference call, which I have not listened to or heard, um, you know, talked about, started, and the stock moved all the way back down below $10. The last on it is 10.06, up 57, still up 5.8%, still a beat, but nonetheless, a pretty strange mover. Visa beat. It had closed 234.65, up 3 and change, got as high as 243, last 237.62, and that's still up $6 and change, 2.6%. Texas Instruments with a miss. The stock closed 146.92, up 60 cents, got down to 139. Last is pretty close to that, 140.38, down 594, or 4%. And in the credit markets, not um, not the credit like the treasuries or bonds, but in the actual consumer credit market, um, TRU. That's TRU is one of the big credit agencies, TransUnion, and it had a miss, and that stock got mercilessly pounded today. It had closed yesterday at 64.85. The low today was 46.47. The last is 49.74. That's down 15.11, or 23%, and that is a price it has not seen in over 6 years. Back in 2017 was the last time it was that cheap. In sympathy, Fair Isaac, which you'll recognize as FICO, FICO, it's another one of the credit scoring agencies. It closed 927.19, and in sympathy had no news today. In sympathy got all the way down to 845. So at one point it was down $82. Not doing a lot better now. It's 862.12. That's down 65.07. It's only 7%, but still meaningful, especially if you paid $1,000 for it. In any event, as far as the indexes, we had another one of those up, down, up, down, up, down seesaw days. The biggest move to the downside was in conjunction with the release of the only information that came out today, which was the S&P Global um, PMIs, both manufacturing and services. And when they came out, what we had was a pretty ugly move in the market to the downside. And frankly, it was very short lived. The services PMI, which is where they say a bunch of the inflation comes from, was 50.09, up from 50.10. This is one of those expansion over 50, contraction under 50. So it stayed above 50 and actually gained. The manufacturing PMI rose also to the dead even 50 number from 49.8. So regional banks fell, the KBE fell, but as you'll see in a second, didn't hurt the yields. The yields moved up ever so slightly at that point, but came right back down and actually closed unchanged to a little bit lower on the day. The 10-year settled unchanged at 484. It was up as high as 489 this morning. And the 2-year rose 4 basis points to 510 after a $51 billion 2-year note auction was met with some sizable demand. So we'll have to see. Tomorrow we have a mortgage index at 7 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, new home sales, and the weekly crude. There's not a lot going on the economic news side until Thursday. And Thursday, I think we get a first look at last quarter's GDP. Okay, the chart on the screen is oil, and it was lower today. As you can see, this is the weekly, but for lack of, well, I'll show you the daily anyway so that you can see what it's done. I mean, it's come down a bit. It was down it was down more than a couple of percent yesterday. I think it was down about 3.5%, and today it was down another 2%. So, we've moved from just under 90 on Friday to a low today of 82.94. So that's 10%. Now that's, a pretty hefty move. But we closed off the low. Now, could we get back into this 82, 83 area? I would say absolutely. But a look at the weekly will show you, put it in a little better perspective as to, where we actually are. We're still well above the 200 day and the 100 day and the 50 day. However, the 20-day is rolling a bit towards the downside, and the 20-day is still moving up. We could theoretically get across towards the end of the week if prices continue like this. Relative strength, as you can see, has formed a little top at an area where, it has topped out before. And so we'll have to see about that. But the MACD is also rolling a bit. But we get into these periods where it's above, below, above, below, above, below. Right now, it's still above, and I'd be hard pressed to tell you which way it's going to go, as opposed to our position, which we sold a little bit more of today in the bonds. The bonds were down almost a full point this morning. There was no good news around. And I'll show you two charts. We've been in this oversold area again, just like we were the last time we traded it. And last time, a couple of weeks ago, we had a move from 108 and 29/32, so 109 up to about 114 and a half. Now we're in it. It was as low as 107.04, so a new low, but it reversed back to the upside yesterday, which is when we got in these at 58 cents. We sold half of them on the 100% up rule, same day. It turned out to be a day trade. And we got $1.16. Today we got $1.61 for a few more. So we still have a position of 4 and 2 on the long side. And, frankly, this chart and the gold chart, which I'll show you next, are pointing me towards a flight to safety, because it seems to me we're about to start to see things heat up in Israel. Let me go to the gold chart. Gold today closed down $1.70, but during the day it was substantially lower. Let's see. Okay, so I have the daily. This is the weekly. Let me show you the daily, because I think that's much more revealing. Uh, okay, as you can see, we were up here at 2009. Now, we were long in here, and we got out on Friday. They were about to expire anyway, but we did recover a great deal there. And I haven't gotten back in, but on Monday, yesterday, we were down fairly hard. We were down about $30 from that high and closed about 2/3 up on the range. Today, we made yet another new lower low down here at 1964, but we closed 1986. That's $22 off the low, and $6 off the high. So clearly three, almost 7/8 up on the range. So down $1.70, but unimpressive. Looks like we were going to cross here, but it looked that way here and it looked that way here. So we may have another leg up. All right, folks, I'll be back first thing in the morning. Hope everyone had a good day, and I hope you were in that TLT trade.